Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm just going to click on this thing here. That thing I click says welcome back. So I spent all of yesterday trying to figure out how to get everything that I had taken out of the office closet back into the office closet. And the thing that was fascinating was that in pulling everything out, I found that I had just basically, when I moved in here 4 months ago, 4 months ago, when I moved in here, there were people helping me. And one of the ways that people help you when you move is they just basically take stuff and cram it in closets and under things to get it out of your way. And I mean, I do it too. So when I opened the office closet and I stood there and I thought, oh, I should have done this sooner. I should have done this much sooner. And I had to go through everything because there was a lot of stuff that I had just brought with me because I didn't have time to say, should I stay or should I go? And so, oh, wow, so much stuff that I had just never really decided I needed after a show. I mean, you take the things, I always overpack. My friend Carol Hay can go away for a month with a little carry-on. I go away for the overnight with 6 suitcases, just in case I might need a trombone. I don't know. So anyway, we did manage to organize it in such a way, and I had better packing tools, and I certainly had Greg Ramsey helping me. And that was a blessing. And so we got it to a place where it worked, and we got it all in one vehicle, and it was a smaller vehicle than I've ever used before, and it was brilliant. And then we packed up, but packing up at a show is very rushed because you want to get out. You want to get out, you want to get home, you want to get out of the car, you want to go and find a place to eat, sit down and go, oh. So everything is a real, it's a real running downhill. It's a running downhill screaming experience. So yesterday was the day because I had been looking at, okay, so when I sort it this time, I have 2 things going on. One is that I have merchandise. More important, really, for the long haul, is that I have marketing materials. I have signage, I have posters, I have things I mail, how I mail them, all that kind of stuff. So it was a real slog. And when I went to bed, I thought, okay. When I got up this morning, wonderful person said, it was so great to meet you. When am I going to see the pictures? Where are we going to see them so I can tell all my friends? Okay. John Major, Gary Raish took 11,000 billion pictures. I'm going through them. Oh my God. It's going to be a minute. It's going to be a minute till I get it done. It's okay. It's all a work in progress. So anyway, here we are back. And it has been an amazing realization this week that yesterday actually was 4 months to the day that I first slept in this apartment. 4 months to the day that the next chapter began. And in those 4 months, I made a list of all the major things that have been done. Not completed, but launched. Doors opened. Ideas jotted down. Plans invited to unfold. And sometimes I think we should do that. I think we need to take a moment every now and then, not to smell the flowers, although that's a great thing to do too, but to give ourselves permission to see what we've accomplished. Every year on my birthday, I have a very good friend who says, why do you keep celebrating your birthday? And I say, because it's a milestone moment. It is a time when I say, okay, so what have I done? And where have I been? And what was it like? And what am I doing next? Because in the interim before that, it's kind of busy. We're doing all the stuff. And so this one day we get to say, wow, look at that. Look at all those things. So yesterday, after all of the frantics, I had a phone call with my longest friend um, on the West Coast, who is going through a journey um, of her own. And I said, I want to tell you a thing that I decided to do. And the reason I want to tell you is because it's working. If it wasn't working, I wouldn't mention it. And she said, oh, good. Tell me something that works, because she's exhausted. She's as exhausted right now in this moment as I was previously. All the driving back and forth up and down the highways to the hospitals, all the never stopping, never stopping, never slacking. Oh, yeah, got to get gas. Oh, yeah, got to get food. Oh, yeah, got to fall down, go to sleep, eat, make a sandwich for lunch tomorrow because the hospital doesn't feed visitors. And then repeat. And no time to even say how tired are I on a scale of 1 to 10. And so she's there. And I said, I want you to say one little phrase. I want you to promise me that you'll try it nonstop. Okay, I don't mean saying it nonstop, but every day. I want you to do this and let me know. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, when you close your eyes, and in the morning when you open your eyes. And she said, okay, what are the words? And I said, self-care. And she said, oh. And I said, that's it. Just say that. Say that and think about it. Doesn't matter what it means to you. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Doesn't matter what it tastes like. Just say it. And give yourself a second. Do the whole breathe in, breathe out thing, Self-care. Because can you hear the siren in the back? I've got the windows open because the air is fabulous. I said, we have to have a direction. There's no point in looking at a compass if we don't have a direction. It doesn't matter to know where we are if we don't know where we're going. Because we need the context, we need a direction, we need a purpose, we need an intention. And she said, I'm getting through each day, and I know that things are going to get better. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you two things. One is things don't change. People change things. Things don't get better. We get them better. And we get them better all the time, every day. Not in the future, right now. Because every moment is right now. So if every moment we are focused on self-care, then we get better. When we get better, the stuff we do gets better. And she said, that's a fair point. I said, okay. You going to do it? Or do I have to call your daughter and have her bully you so it isn't a long distance call? She said, no, I'll tell her. So this is the thing I wanted to talk about today, is we're facing the wrong way. And the question, episode 174. The question is, how do we know which way to face? How do we know? How do we know it's the wrong way? How do we know it's not working? Oh yeah, you know what? We know it's not working. Part of us knows. Part of it is saying, okay. And we're either too stubborn or we're too caught up in it to stop. But if you're facing the wrong way, all that you're getting is further away from where you're intending to go. So I read this thing 2 days ago, and it was one of those duh moments. I love them, right? Energy never goes away, right? It's always there. Some science teacher said, energy, it morphs into other things, but it never goes away. It's never destroyed. If it's there, it's because it's always been there and it always will be there. I read that and I thought, yeah, whatever class of school, I remember it immediately, not which class, but I remember hearing the science teacher say that. Yeah, okay. If we are energy, if our thoughts become things, And we are energy, and thoughts have energy. Thoughts cause events. There are our thoughts, they're energy, they're vibrating, they're moving things around. Well, if energy never goes away, then the thing we're thinking, the plan we're planning, the do we're doing is already here. It's just in a different shape. It's coming. It's morphing. But it's not things will get better eventually. Things are better. We just can't see that yet because we're standing over here facing the wrong way. What if we change the way we're facing? What if we say things are better? Things are better. Not things are going to get better. I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. It's right now. And I told this to her and she said, yeah, that's pretty good. I said, you buy into it? She said, yeah, I do. Yeah. If the first sentence is true, and it is, then the next one pretty much has to be true. I said, okay. What are the two words? She said, self-care. I said, what kind of self-care would be a good thing right now? And she said, I would sacrifice a lot of stuff for a massage. I said, good idea. Good idea. Make sure you get a therapeutic one. So they go in and they pull all that stuff out. And she said, ooh, yeah, good idea. So we were having a conversation about self-care. And I could hear the tone in her voice changing. I could hear I could hear the I could hear the way she was talking. I knew that she was smiling. We didn't do a video call. And at the end of the call, I said, how are we now? On a scale of 1 to whatever. She said, yeah, you know how to do this. There's no question you know how to do this. I said, good. Well, I'm glad I can be of service. What are the words again? She said, shut up. I said, oh, okay. Which is another way of self-care. Shut up, Abby. So how do we know which way to face? And when I posted it on Facebook this morning, I posted it with that fabulous picture of the safari. The people are all in the Land Rover and they're all looking for the lion, and the lion is lying on the ground on the other side of the track behind them, just sitting there. How do we know which way to face? Okay, folks, not that way. Lion. So I have 3 stories to tell you about facing the wrong way. I once accidentally got hired several times to be a supply teacher because at some point somebody thought I had gone to college and got my teaching certificate. And reasonably, they thought that because everybody that I knew who was working part-time in theater and whatnot, they were all teachers for a living. And we all went to college together. So one of these things is not like the others? No, people like us do things like this. Yeah. So they just assumed I was a teacher. And I forget now, because it's a million years ago, I forget how they managed to hire me and pay me because they didn't have my credentials, right? So somebody fixed something. Anyway, the day came when they asked, by the way, we looked in your file and we don't have the paperwork. So could you, bring in a copy? And I said, what paperwork? Well, blah, blah, blah. What? And I said, I don't have, I didn't go to college, teacher's college. I didn't. And everybody but me looked horrified. I looked helpful. So anyway, I was in this one class and there was this kid who was being difficult because, supply teacher. And he was the tough guy, right? And I don't think it was high school. I think it might have been middle school. Anyway, everybody was sitting down and making all their noises. And he had decided he was going to be the guy. So he was at the back of the class. And those desks where there's a seat and then there's an arm and then there's a tabletop, but it's all connected. It's all one thing, right? It used to annoy me because so many of them were for right-handed people and I'm left-handed. So, the right-handed person needs it with the desk arm this way, right? And I'm, having to do that whole lefty thing. So anyway, this guy is sitting on the desk part with his feet on the seat. and he's kind of angled sideways, and he's looking out the window, pretending he doesn't care what's going on. But he's giving me and the rest of the class the side eye. So, he's waiting for the reaction that he expects. And everybody in the class is waiting for the reaction that he expects. They're all waiting to see what happens, who wins this. And so I saw it and everything, and I walked down the far aisle to the back, looking confused. And I walked past him, and I nodded, and I smiled, and he nodded. No smile, of course, too cool. And I walked past him, and then I stopped, and I looked back, still looking confused. And I walked all the way to the front, looking at the whole rest of the class. And then I stopped, and I went back to him, and I leaned in, not too close. I leaned in, and I said in the loudest stage whisper I'm capable of, "You're facing the wrong way." And then I walked away, walked to the front of the class, started the lesson, ignored him. Eventually he turned around and sat down. And it's a metaphor that I use all the time in my thinking. How do I know you're facing the wrong way? How do we know which way to face? It's not a question of we're in lockstep and we all have to be sheep. It's not that. It's which way works. One of the most fascinating moments in my life, when we were stationed overseas, we had a short vacation in London. All the flights, all the flips from where we were to where we needed to be on a military plane, we basically just paid the tax. We just paid the fuel tax. So I don't know, from Strasbourg to London, $20, $10. And so everybody traveled all the time as often as they could, because the plane was going anyway. The plane was taking stuff. The plane was taking personnel. So if there were empty seats, hey, just, here's $10, keep the change. And when I got to it, we in the hotel, and everything's cool and exciting and different and crazy. Yeah. Out of the hotel, we're going to go sightseeing. We cross the sidewalk. We're getting ready to cross the street. And I am from North America. So look both ways before you cross the street. So I looked that way and stepped out. And my father pulled me back as this loud horn went off, because they're coming. Whoa. And the thing is, it's so ingrained, it's so unconscious. I did it every time we crossed the street, and every time my dad basically just walked around with his hand on the back of my jacket all the time. Nope. Because I didn't know which way to face. And the reason I didn't know is because it was brand new. And I had no one I could recognize as the person to teach me that I could mirror. Because everything we learn, everything we do, we mirror somebody else. Now, if I had stopped and looked at all the pedestrians, but they all looked different. They all looked strange and exotic and foreign. So I didn't see them as somebody that I would emulate. They were different. They were a totally other thing, moving and alive and amazing. They were as curious as the fact that the guards were going to come the other way. So I wasn't going to automatically think, oh, they'll show me what to do. I was mostly saying, wow, who are they and what are they and what are they doing? It didn't occur to me that I was like them in any way. And that happens to us a lot. It happens to us a lot, and we don't realize it. And this whole conversation I'm going on about mirroring, if we don't have somebody that we trust, who is in our tribe, in our circle, who can show us because they know it, it's a scary time. I talked about it a little bit on Tuesday. COVID, nobody knew what to do. The experts didn't know what to do. They were changing the conversation and changing the story every time they turned around, because their understanding of and their knowledge of what this pandemic was changing every day with new information. It wasn't something that they could look up anywhere. They were the ones writing the book that people were going to look up eventually. And it was terrifying to be that disconnected from how people like us do things like this. How do we know? Do we know? No. Well, then how do we know? How do we learn to know? That's the trick. That's the scary thing. So I like to tell stories about it because it gives us all an opportunity to say, oh, I get it. It's a show, an illustration, followed by a tell. This is what I meant by that. It's how we learn. We recognize something familiar and we can mirror it. We can copy it. So here's the story. Here's the one I told you I was going to tell you about. Okay, so before I got into showbiz, just before I got into showbiz, I was bartending. I had come back to Ottawa. I was finishing university and I was paying my way by bartending. And I had landed this job at this motel that had kind of a nightclub, and I knew a couple of people who performed in the club. And so there was a nightclub and there was a bar. And so I got this job bartending. So, and I had just come back from Florida, and before Florida, New York, and I had been modeling in Florida. So I was cute, I was blonde and I was tanned and I was cute. So anyway, the motel owner, the guy who owned everything, his wife came up to me and she said, John, I think maybe his name was, it's been a long time. It's John's birthday next weekend. And I said, oh, cool. And she said, and I had an idea, and I was talking with the kitchen, and I want to ask you if you'll do something. And I said, sure. And she said, have you ever seen those movies where a woman jumps out of a cake? And I said, no. And she said, but you know what I'm talking about. And I said, yeah, I don't do that sort of thing, because I assumed she meant, kind of an exotic dancer experience moment. And and she said, no. What I was thinking of is we're going to have a cake that John will see, that the kitchen's going to work on. But I want to get a life-size version of it, and it'll be, a storage drum, and we'll get it the same color, and we'll decorate it with whatever, with paper mache and whatnot, to look like the cake. And we'll get you to crouch down in a bathing suit, and we'll just bring it outside, and we'll have everybody outside, because it's supposed to be a beautiful day on the weekend. And we'll just wheel it out by the pool area. Everybody's outside having a cocktail. And, you'll jump out of the cake and say, happy birthday, John. And it'll be fabulous. Everybody will laugh, applaud. John will say, hey, and then, you can go back in and change your clothes, and the party will move inside when we have dinner and whatnot. I said, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, sure. I'll do that. So I went to one of those places, fabric stores, where you can get stuff, and I had this bathing suit. It was black. And so I bought white foof stuff. So black and white and blonde. And so it's all foofy all around the edges and everything. And I had little foofy wristlets and whatnot, foofy around the ankles. So I'm blonde, tan, fabulous. So the day comes, and, I casually, hey, John, making no comment about his birthday. And I go in to the back area of the kitchen, and here's this thing. And so I leave my purse in a safe space, and I take off my shirt thing, and I'm wearing the bathing suit. Everybody's going, they help me in, right? Because it's on a dolly, right? If they didn't help me in, the end would be now as opposed to nigh. And then they put the lid on, right? And it's just, it was a rim, and it was just paper, so I could just, burst out. And then they wheeled me outside, along the sidewalk beside the pool, right? Kagunk, kagunk, kagunk. Every break in the sidewalk, every slab in the sidewalk, kagunk, kagunk, kagunk. And I could tell we were going around the going around the side of the pool. And I'm in there thinking I'm going to throw up in a minute. What was I thinking? So I go around another thing, kagunk, 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 and then it stops. And the guy who was pushing the thing, two taps, boom, boom, and so we're ready. So I I burst through the top, and I yelled surprise, and there was nobody there. I was facing the pool. They had turned one of the turns. Yeah, they turned the drum around because it said "Happy Birthday." I didn't know that. I was, surprise! Nothing. I turn around, and they're all. I feel like a moron. And I said, "Well, there you are. You didn't think I'd find you." I'm thinking. So I carefully, somebody comes over and I said, "Can you hold this so I climb out?" So I climbed out. I got one foot stepped into something mushy in the grass, and I thought, okay, that's disgusting and charming, but I'm smiling. And then, so I walked over to John and I said, "Happy birthday, John." And everybody's oh, hey, John, everybody's laughing. John looks like he wants to die. His wife is all smiling. "What do you think, John? Do you think she's lovely, John?" And he didn't know what to say. He had no idea what to say, except he wished I could see. He just wished I would disappear. If he could blink his eyes and it would be gone and all be over, that's what he would have done. And in that moment, I realized something. I realized something that had never occurred to me, because why would it? And here it is. If you watch any of those, usually it's a romantic comedy, and it would have starred Marilyn Monroe, and it would have starred somebody handsome and whatnot, and it would have been the bachelor party, and all the men are in tuxedos, and when the girl jumps out of the cake, in that moment, you know what they do in the film? They cut to a wide shot of everybody laughing and clapping and cheering and drinking. And then when they cut back to the medium close-up, the girl is either sitting in the fellow's lap or she's standing beside the table looking amazing. The reason they cut away is they don't want us to watch her trying to figure out how to get out of the cake, how to climb, like how do you climb out of this thing? Like one leg over the side is not the look we're going for with the sexy girl in the bikini. "Hi, John." It's not what we're going for. So because we never see that moment, we never see the immediate aftermath of the girl out of the cake, we also never see what the recipient is supposed to do. No instructions, no mirroring. Was this guy John a typical guy in the tux, with all the glad handing people? Absolutely. Did his wife have a great idea in principle? 100%. Did she choose the right person with the sense of humor, but also the blonde hair and the tan, who was very cute at the time? Yes, she did. What none of us factored in was, now what? We never factored it in because we were facing the wrong way. We had an idea. We knew how to start it, and then we could visualize what happens afterwards. But we forgot about the middle part. It didn't occur to us that we had to think about that. We just assumed it would naturally unfold all by itself. We had forgotten that things don't happen. People change things. People make the thing. Make it and then make it happen. And so it was so funny and so embarrassing and so awkward that so I'm standing there and he doesn't know what to say. He's standing there like a fish. You know, the fish that keeps its mouth shut never gets caught. He's just standing there, a tight lipped fish. What do you think, John? Says his wife. What do you think? Hey, John, what do you think? Saying nothing. Me, hi, John. And we all realize that he's, Lot's wife. He's turned to a pillar of salt. And I said, John, I love these long conversations we always have, but I got to run. The bar is calling me. And I said, goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. And then everybody, were transported out of their spell. And they're all saying, bye, bye, bye. See you later. Oh, great thing. Because now it was safe. They knew what to do to wave goodbye to the pretty girl in the bathing suit. They were on safe ground now. And then, and I walked away waving around the corner. So embarrassing. Go inside. How'd it go? Great. Change clothes, go down to the bar. There's a guy sitting at the bar and he said, so you planning on making that a career? And I said, no. And he said, you really didn't think that through? And I said, no, I really didn't. And he said, well, if it's any consolation, nobody else did either. And I said, did you know what was going to happen? He said, oh yeah, sure. Why didn't you say something? And, he said, I figured you thought you knew what you're doing. I figured this would be a good teachable moment. Yes. So in this moment, when we are looking at milestones that we have reached, a sentence popped into my head that I have written on a Post-it note, and everywhere I go, every office I set up, I redo it so that it's not a tattered and worn and faded and smudged and tear-stained Post-it note. And it says, that I can does not mean I should. Because I am so quick to jump in and say, hey, how hard could that be? I used to say that all the time. I've tried to cut it out because the universe says, oh, you want me to show you? But I realized yesterday, as I was unpacking and sorting and organizing my office closet, supply closet, that there is a corollary to that I can does not mean I should. And you want to know what it is? That they can does not mean they will. That I can does not mean I should. That they can does not mean they will. Why not? Because they may not be facing the right way. And they may not know how to find out which way to face. So our conversation about mirroring, our conversation about people like us do things like this, is first we have to forgive ourselves for trying over and over and over again, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. We have to forgive ourselves for that habit. And we need to give ourselves permission to do this, because this was the thing I left my girlfriend with at the end of our call. I said, do you realize that if you spend all your time solving the problem because you are so good at solving the problem, no one else gets good at it? Just because they can does not mean they will. If you're doing it, they can't. Some of them won't even try. If you say, it's going to be a bit of a glitch, going to be a learning curve here, but I need some time for self-care, you are giving them permission to be the leaning in, to do the leaning in, to own the leaning in. And no one is held hostage anymore. And she said, yeah. Yeah. I said, oh, good. Subconscious, conscious, prefrontal cortex. Excellent. They all agree. So, what if, as I leave you now today to go and do all the wonderful things that you do, and I carry on, what if you gave yourself permission to double check the way you're facing and ask yourself if you are doing this purposefully, intentionally, or it has just become a habit? If it's just become a habit, is all that you're doing repeating the same thing? Are you going to be able to grow? If it's only kind of so working, do you think it's going to get better? The answer is going to be no. How do we know which way to face? Ask me. I'll show you. It's called pivoting. Change your mind. Change your fate. Okay, lovelies. This was amazing. 174 episodes. Do you realize that next Tuesday it's 175? Wow. And none of this would be happening if you were not here with me, taking this journey with me. We have a new show in development. We have a concept in development. We have a fabulous plan in development. And we have a give back program in development. And now that I have finally unpacked, and we have had a magnificent FanaticCon 4, now I can devote my energies, my time, and my attention full speed on these things. And I have a pretty good feeling you are going to love it. I just have that feeling. So, without further ado, you know the drill. Be good to you. You deserve it. And remember to hug your loved ones, because they deserve it too. Thank you. Thank thee. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.